Aloha. Welcome to the Walking in Aloha, Let's Talk Story podcast. We're so glad to have you here. Et como mai. Now here's our podcast host and award-winning author, Michelle.
Aloha everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. And this is where we share stories that remind us that faith, love, and purpose is where we can rewrite the hardest chapters in our life. Today we have an incredible guest, David MacGregor. Thank you so much for being here. A man whose story reminds us that the words, I can't, don't stand a chance when faith steps in. From hearing life's changing news to choosing to believe in miracles, David's journey of resilience, belief, and healing is one that will ignite your spirit. His story, they said I can't, I said I must, so I did, reveals how faith, focus, and the power of the mind can literally transform what's possible. So grab your coffee or tea and breathe deep and let the episode remind you that God's not done with your story yet. Thank you, David, for coming on to the Walking in Aloha podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, and thank you very much for having me on here.
Oh, it's so awesome to have you. So, David, I know that, it was just so amazing. The They said I can't, I said I must, so I did. That started off with the next top speaker, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that one?
The next top speaker, the first time round with that speech, they said I can't, I said I must, was very much a story about my leukemia journey, being told the odds of me not surviving, being told all those things that doctors tell you, the worst case scenario, what may happen. But I chose to believe that life doesn't have to be like that. We're being guided, we're being helped from so many directions, that life has endless possibilities. We've only just got to embrace it and take it for where it can go and believe, and as you say, have faith in what can be achieved when you just let go and let the journey happen and believe in the endless possibilities.
Walking in Aloha, Let's Talk Story started from my journey, from my book, Walking in Aloha, 5 Steps to Living Your God Potential Life. And the Aloha, I know Aloha has so many meanings in Hawaii, but we always use the Aloha Always framework, which is the affirmations and actions, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and the acute awareness. And just hearing your story on how you went through that leukemia and everything like that. I want to hear and I want you to share with our audience on how you walk through alone in that same framework, because I've learned through speaking with so many people around the world that I've seen people walk through Aloha the same way. And so why don't we go through the questions that I've had here, and we can just go through the affirmations and actions, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness in that way, because I just love it. I know that you have such a powerful story, such a powerful story. I heard your speech in the Next Top Speaker, and you made it to, what did you make it to on the Next Top Speaker?
I was one of the top 100 from there,
Uh-huh.
but I also had the pleasure of the next time round being in the top 100 from there again. And from there, I've come on to podcasts like yourself, talking
Nice.
to different TV, news, articles, however you want to share my story, local newspapers, many podcasts, being part of the Carly Choose movement. We've being able to share that message there. And in a few weeks, I'm going to share my story for a bunch of entrepreneurs, about 500 or 600 people, my story there to help inspire them on their journey. So
Wow. See, that is so incredible. I love that. The power of your voice. That is so incredible. I just love that because it's when we speak out, it's when we share the things that we've gone through that we can empower other people. It's through our own testimony, it's through what we've gone through. We may have gone through something that was hard, but it is through that we give other people hope. Yeah, and it is so good. I love it. I love it. So, affirmations and actions. Let's just dive in. What affirmations or inner beliefs helped you shift from fear to faith when you received your diagnosis?
on the years before, I'll sort of step back a little bit. I'd done a lot of inner work for myself in order to save my relationship with my wife and my children and the family. And if I felt if I hadn't have done that at that time, I actually wouldn't be here. And those affirmations, actions that you're talking about daily, I would repeat things like about being worthy of being here, being worthy of the abundance, being worthy to be able to share my message. The daily things that I do as far as breathing, reading, things that I go through, particularly Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and being able to visualize and bring to life the things that I want in life. And by sharing those stories with people, we are able to impart our knowledge there, going from a journey where I talked about my leukemia journey, where I went through 3 lots of chemo and a bone marrow transplant, a terrible infection that I had that enabled me to make that mindset adjustment for myself by using the tools that I had to see that with the help of my faith, I was able to bring to life things that would save my life. Like I talked about in my different speeches, I could see myself after, I should step back a moment, after having some illusion, however you want to put it, where I saw after I'd been on some very strong pain medication for that infection pain, that I saw something that really frightened me. And I decided in that moment that I had to take control of my subconscious mind from there and steer that to things that I wanted. And what I was talking about was I could see myself as a blood cell running through my body, repairing it so that I could be at that stage where I was cured. The doctors will call it that you're in remission, but I chose through my words and my actions to believe in a cure. And by having that faith that you're able to have an outcome for yourself, you can use that wherever you are in your life. And in that moment, I could see my life unfolding as I wanted it. And I was able to use that skill again and again to get surgeries rescheduled on time after there was emergencies, the different machines breaking down, by able to have both of my brothers as 100% match for my bone marrow transplant. When they told me it was only about 25% chance of one of my brothers being like that, using those affirmations is so powerful by rewiring your unconscious mind to see and believe in what you want in life.
Wow, that is incredible. Yeah, I've heard about those matches. Like it's not that common that you would find 100% match, especially having both becoming 100% match. That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. You know, so can you share, like, you already shared how you changed your mindset and having to, like, focus in on that, right? Changing that mindset and all, like, specifically that action that helped you to take control of the thought in that critical moment, right? Can you share, like, how is that? Because I'm one, okay, it's just me, maybe it's just me, but I'm all over the place. How do you focus in and on, like, because that would have to be very difficult for some people to have that specific action of focusing in on that one critical moment and being like, okay, I'm going to focus in on this one thing because this is where I need it to be.
Myself, when I first was told that I had leukemia and I ended up in the Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital, I was sitting there and I decided, and that, or whether it was a conscious or an unconscious decision, that every thought I had, every word I spoke, and every action I did mattered in that moment, because if I didn't, I may not be here. It was about saving my life, but it wasn't just about saving my life. It was about being present for my wife and our 3 children and all the responsibility that goes with that. And I know so many people will relate to that. Carrying that moment forward to where I just spoke about what I saw that scared me, that was another moment where if I don't take control of what's going on here, how can I be here? How can I be present for all those people, my family, my friends? And I'd already made a conscious decision on that first day that I was going to share my insights and my stories for people to help them on their journey, to help them not necessarily not go through what I've been going through, but to encourage them. And whether you borrow my belief, whether you have your own belief, whether you take God's belief in you, it doesn't matter for the moment. What matters is that you are enabling yourself to take that next step forward with some resilience and some trust and faith.
I see. Yeah, I can see that where all of that funnels into what is most important.
And,
That's
and
the
it is
thing.
right now.
Yeah, what it is right now. So, like I was saying, where I can be all over the place, you got to be like, okay, what it is right now. Like you said, if you didn't do it right now, you wouldn't be here. So that's it. It's that focusing, that funneling of all of that, pulling it together and being like, I got to do this right now. That is what is most important. Oh, that is so good. So and leadership and love. Now, how did love from your family, your brothers, your faith lead you from where you were? So, lead you when you felt life was uncertain. How did the love of your family and friends and your brothers and all of that?
I felt, and I'll say there's a couple of moments there, I felt when I got the phone call from my eldest brother to say that he was a match, I broke down there and then. And because that's that gift of life that you're being given, and you're being given that for a reason, and take that as it is, that gift, and carry it forward, pay it forward, use it for what it is. There's other moments where I had been going through the chemo, the infection, and I was in remission, and within a week, the leukemia had come back again. And they decided then that they would give me what they called a reinduction chemo. So it was twice as much, twice as fast, and truly obliterate the leukemia that was within my blood and within my bones. And I was feeling after that really low. And I had a moment that I haven't really shared before, where I didn't want to keep going. And the love that I felt from my wife,
Thank you for
the
sharing.
moments that you have there are just so special. And
That is so good.
the keep going with that is so important for everybody involved.
Yes, that is so special. That is so special. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's a hard time, to even know that you reach that point where you're like, this is too hard. This is too hard. I don't know if I want to keep on fighting. But you know that there's people around you that you want to fight for, and that is so good. That is so important. And I thank God that people did rally around you and that there was that love that came and you realize that there are people around you that, you know, stepped in. And I thank God for that because you're here now and you can share. So now you got
Sorry.
me crying. Okay. What role did leadership play in your healing journey, both in leading yourself and inspiring others? You have inspired me. You've had it inspiring so many people already. But what role did leadership play? Because I know for a fact for myself, and even coming out of the domestic violence, I had to lead myself out of a lot of things. So, what role did leadership play in your healing journey?
From my take on that, the leadership that I felt was that I needed to be there and be present, as you talked about, for my family, for my friends, all those that, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, that I have a responsibility for, that I are shining the light for them to show what is possible. Because in previous life, where we were doing real estate development, which we still are in the background, we were doing quite successful builds, subdivisions, all sorts of things going on there. And I'd already put input up on a pedestal there for my success. And by no means I'm anywhere near the biggest, but having that continual success there is something that helps motivate and inspire other people. And the moment that came up that we were talking about last night, because we were getting our speech ready to present, we talk about the energy that you bring to a situation for people. And it was during COVID and we were doing a build, and the building supervisor came up to me and said, "This is the only site within our company that is not having any delays because of materials, because of time." There was all those things that were going on in COVID that they just couldn't get labour and they couldn't get materials. He said it was the only site that didn't have any delays, and he wanted to know why. And I just said to him at the time that it's the energy that we bring to the project. And it's one of those intangible things that you can't see, but you can feel it. And by being that leader that brings that to any situation that's going on with people, whether you're coaching somebody who's in the most vulnerable state, where they are entrusting you with all your life secrets, all those, I'll say, mishaps, things people might call mistakes, challenges, holding that space for them, letting them know that everything is going to be okay and we can sort this from here. When I'm coaching somebody who's got cancer, by providing that space again is a point of healing for them, where they can let go of that energy that they've been carrying for years, is just the special healing space for them, not only for them, it is for myself.
That is so good. That's one thing that, a lot of people don't realize is that when you do help, it is healing for ourselves also. And that is so good. So, in overcoming obstacles, and I know that you have overcome so much, but in your overcoming, you faced near impossible odds, yet you kept believing. What did it take to overcome doubt and hold on to hope? I mean, you shared so much already, but what did it take?
For me, it's still the belief and the faith, not only that you're here for a reason, but you are capable of so much more, and being able to push through the next bump in the road, whether you go over it, round it, or through it. It doesn't matter. It's only a bump in the road for whatever's happening for you, that particular experience in your life right now. By doing this, it builds up your own discernment on what you want to look at, which you talked about before, your resilience that you have for life, that energy, and whether what I was talking about, rewiring the unconscious mind, that new person with that new belief, new faith in what can be done carries forward into the people that you interact with. Whether you say something or you don't, they still feel that presence.
Good. I love that you said you're capable of so much more, and that is the hope that we can bring by sharing our stories. You're capable of so much more. It's just another bump in the road, another thing that you go through, whether you go around it or through it, you just get through it. How did visualization and belief help you rewrite the story that the doctors gave you? I know you shared it in the beginning on how you visualize things, but how did that help you to overcome? That is huge.
It is, and one of the techniques that I picked up, and I've sort of changed it to suit yourself a little bit, but that visualization that I talked about before, by being able to place yourself in a moment that you want to see in the future. And it's not just placing yourself, it's being able to see it, feel it, and believe that that is your reality. By doing this multiple times a day, by embodying yourself, this takes practice and it takes time, seeing that as your new reality and having that faith again that you can bring that to reality. And like I say, it takes time, it takes practice. But by doing this multiple times a day, which is what I had to do while I was going through all those things with my leukemia treatment, bringing that to reality just happens. That immersement of the faith that you can and it will happen, it just becomes a natural evolution. For some people, they might find that hard to believe, but during that time, I had no option of doing this because I said to many people when I started that leukemia journey, I wasn't going anywhere. So I need to hold this up for myself, for my family, for my friends, everyone that I'm connected to have that belief that we can overcome those obstacles that people might see it as catastrophic, huge, whatever you want to call it. But by doing this, not only for yourself, but everybody around you, makes it so much more powerful for yourself. And that vision just comes to reality.
That is so good. Right now, I always love the fact that God orchestrates things in ways that we cannot explain. And I always say that it's God timely because I don't know how he does it or whatever. I don't know how to explain it. But so just on Saturday, I went and had an MRI done on my leg because I had a hip replacement and it's been a long time and my left leg is still weak. I know from the time earlier on, I kept saying there's something wrong with it because no matter what I was doing in therapy, there was like a weakness in my leg that I could feel. And things that I couldn't do, like step up on the stairs like regular, and I had to pull myself up using the rail. I still use a cane, and it was just all these things. And I kept saying something is wrong, and they're like, "Oh, you just need therapy." And I was like, like that, like, no, I know, I can feel it. There's like numbness, there's something wrong. So they finally did an MRI on Saturday, and so now they now can see it through the MRI that the muscles isn't attaching to the prosthetic correctly, and that because of all this time of waiting, there's atrophy in my leg. So I'm like, oh no. And the development of the muscle has now, I don't know how to say the word, atrophied. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But now it's another whole surgery, right? Going in there to do the whole attaching the muscle in all these places, listening to you. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go through all that pain again. I don't want to have to go through all of that redoing. So I'm looking at it like, this is so for me. I don't want to be selfish, but everyone who's listening, I'm so sorry, but David is here for me. No, I'm just kidding. But I really think that if that is not if, but I know that all things are possible with Christ, to heal that muscles and to get the tendons and all of the attachments to work correctly in the way that it should work without the doctor having to go back in there and suture things and wire things the way that he's telling me that he's needing to do. Because the way that he's saying that it needs to be done seems so dramatic, like having to go back in there and put the cadaver bone to the prosthetic so that the muscle has something to attach to. So it sounds like it's just a whole mess. And I'm like, no, we have that power in ourselves, in our own minds, in our own bodies to heal in that way. And so to have that impossible odds, right? And to have that visualization and that belief to rewrite the stories that even doctors gave you, which seemed impossible. Because when you hear it from a doctor, you seem like, most people are like, it's a doctor. The doctors know better, right? But obviously it was different. You were able to say, no, I
I
can do
had
this.
many examples where I needed to have that faith in what could be done, exactly what you're talking about. I talked about the surgeries before, but I didn't talk about there were blood results that I needed to have in order for me to be able to be discharged from hospital in between my different lots of chemo. And there was a point there where I was doing the visualizations that you talk about and that I've been talking about, and my blood results were on track. And I'd already had 30 something days in hospital then, and we were almost there. I thought, yep, it's going to happen. And I stopped doing the visualizations, and within 2 days, the blood results had dropped off and I wasn't coming out of hospital. So I made a point of focusing on those results and what they needed to be and what it would feel like for me being discharged from hospital. Yes, I wasn't going home for that time. We were staying at a local leukemia village, which we'd been kindly gifted by the Leukemia Foundation, but I could stay with my wife instead of her visiting me in hospital. It was a moment of respite in that care journey. And I did this for 1 day, and they took the results at 4 o'clock the next morning. And by lunchtime, I was out of hospital.
That's incredible. I mean, you've proven it over and over again, and there's no other way. So I always say, like, well, I didn't say it. I can't take credit, but the proof is in the pudding. I can't take credit for that, but it's proven. It's proven, and you've proven it, you know, and the test results have proven it. So it's not like it's hypothetical, how some people can say, oh, that's just hypothetical. It's not. You've seen it in actual test results. So that is amazing.
I've got a client that I'm currently working with, a gentleman who had stage 4 prostate cancer, and I work with him doing that mind rewiring. I do work with him for pranic healing, along with traditional medicine, along with a few other things that he's doing, dietary and other things. But he had a PET scan, it's probably about 6 weeks ago, and I'd only been working with him for 10 weeks, and the cancer had gone out of his bones, which it had metastasized there, had gone out of his lymph nodes, and it was only a small amount left in his prostate, just by using those techniques. And
Wow.
you talked about scientifically verified during my journey, and I encourage everybody, yes, work with the medical professions, but also have that trust and belief that everything you are doing is there to help you. In one of those conversations, I was talking with my wife last night. They talked about the chemo, and during my last lot of chemo, the doctor called it poison, but while it's going into me, I'm seeing it as a healing message for my body. It doesn't matter what you've got going in for you, as long as you've got that mindset that things are going to be better and everything that you're doing is bringing you forward to where you want to be, it will happen.
Say that is so good. Such hope. You're bringing such hope to me, and I know you are to so many other people who are listening right now. That is so good. So, health and healing. We went through the affirmations and actions, the leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, and now the health and healing part, the H in Aloha. What spiritual or mental practices supported your healing and renewed your energy? Because I know that it has to take from you, like in all of that, in trying to manifest and concentrate. And I know for myself, even having to get through the pain and all of the things that I go through and having to just even my daily day and go to work and everything and know that, okay, I can get through this 8 hours and it's exhausting sometimes. So, what spiritual or mental practices do you do and what supports your healing and renews your energy?
I'll start with I'll say a left field one, the physical thing. You need to know when you need to stop for yourself to help re-energize yourself. Spiritual side of things, I see that I am on a journey. I see that I'm being supported. I feel it. There's many times that I will picture, whether it's a white light, whether the pranic healing, there's violet lights, there's golden lights, there's all sorts of things that you can connect with yourself. But in that connection, the connection to earth as well, being supported, but not only being supported, but supporting it, that continual flow of energy through your body to help rebuild it. The mental practices you're talking about, there was so many things there that I was feeding my mind to rewire that unconscious mind into totally believing in that moment that we talk about in the future. But by believing in that moment in the future for where it is, you actually bring it into your reality now.
That's so good. Just to know that, yeah, we have to take time and make time for that healing. So how do you define healing now beyond the I know you were just saying that mental and that light, but physically right now, you know, beyond the physical, beyond the how do you define healing now?
For me, healing is about what's good for your mind and your body. right now. And that will vary depending on what's going on for you. Particularly for me, sometimes it's rest. Sometimes it's saying those mantras. Sometimes it's listening to a book that will give me new insights on how to heal myself and heal others. It's having that discernment of what is important for you right now, listening to your intuition, listening to your guidance that you're being given, and having faith that, and I know I'll say it again and again, that everything is going to be okay, that all of this is happening for a reason, and it will guide you to a better place.
So good. Yeah. You know, I think sometimes we forget about that part of it where rest is healing, you know, life gets so busy and we're like, we got to do this, we got to do that. But yeah, just sitting and resting and being, listening to, like you said, listening to a book that helps you learn more and do more kind of things. It's like all of that is healing. And you have to take care of what God gave you in order to help other people. I heard it from Pastor Andrew Moman where he called it leader fit. If you are not fit to answer the call of God, if you're not fit, how are you supposed to answer? When the call comes, you're sick or you're, you know, down and out, and you're like, you can't answer. So you have to take that time. And I like that you said rest because I am in that place where I'm like, I need to tell myself it's time to rest. I'm in Hawaii. And yes, you know that trainings come from Australia. And when I'm in a training in Australia, I start at midnight and I can come home from work and I get off at 10:30. My husband gets off. We work the same place. We were both TSA workers. He gets off at 11:30, but we rush home so I can get on at midnight and I am in there until like 2 in the morning. You know? And then plus you gotta still do, you're trying to do the work after, right? And he'll come out and he'll be like, "Hun, you have to go to sleep." And I'm like, "I know, give me a moment." And I'm still trying to get things done. But then I have to tell myself, like, you need to get to sleep because the next day is going to come, whether you like it or not. The clock is still running and you still have 24 hours in a day like everyone else. But it is so important that you rest, that you take that time.
It is one of those lessons that I consciously took away was focusing on what's important right now and being able to hear that again and again, no matter what's going on in your life. And that rest for me, as part of the recovery, has become a very important tool. And you're talking about different trainings. I've had to be very discerning on what I turn up for those and very purposeful in order to keep moving forward. It may not be at the pace that I used to, but it's still happening and I can still celebrate my successes by doing things like this, by taking those moments, ensuring that I'm still having family time, ensuring that I'm having moments of reflection for myself and seeing those successes, no matter how big or small they are, but having that what's important right now for me and everybody around by filling my cup, by putting your oxygen mask on first so that you are there and you are present for yourself and everybody else.
Yes, excellent. And you just mentioned a time for reflection because that too is important, you know, where if you're not taking that time to reflect on that, if you're just kind of going through the motion and you're going from one thing to the next and the next, and you don't stop and you don't reflect and you don't have that moments, you're like, what is it all for then? right? So that is so key. I love that. You're just dropping gems all over the place, David. I love it. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And that just leads us right into the acute awareness. See, you're so on the ball. How did your awareness of God's presence in your inner strength shift during this journey? Did you recognize a shift?
I did, and I'll bring something up here. This was a gift from my wife during that journey, and it's a medallion with Christ on it. And I incorporated that so much into my faith that everything was going to be okay. And I've been, I'll say, been a non-practicing Anglican, and my wife is a devout Catholic. And their family, being an Italian family, has been brought up with that faith for their whole life. And our eldest daughter that lives with us, she does reads Bible moments every morning. And having that energy and that faith in your home, even though that I wasn't in my home for 7.5 months, but having that presence, it changes things.
So good. That's so good. You know, there was a time, like, even for me, where I, from the time I was a kid, my grandmother always brought us up around the faith. As I grew up, we weren't really practicing. And then raising my kids, we knew of Christ, but never really, the whole up and down thing. But never did I feel far away from God. I knew that He was always close. But there was that time when I was going through the domestic violence situation. I was in the middle of the most scariest time. I thought I was going to, like, I literally thought I was going to die. He was in the room and I was getting beat, and I didn't realize how bad I was because I never saw my face. But I knew that everything was broken. He broke my phone, he locked the door, and I knew I was bleeding because I could taste the blood, right? And I was so scared and I was like, how do I get out of here? I didn't know how I was going to get safe. And it was through that acute awareness. I just could hear like this audible voice that was so soft, but I could hear it so clearly. And God said, use your voice. And I was thinking, what do you mean? I'm here in the room. And I realized that the window was open in the back of me. And all of this stuff came so clear. Like, it was so clear that I remembered that there was a guard shack that was down in the corner. And I just prayed that there was somebody there at the moment, because it wasn't like it was somewhere where they stayed. It was like a shack where they would do their rounds and then just go back over there. So I didn't know if they were going to be there at the time. But all I knew was that voice that said, use your voice. And so I started to step back and I started to speak out and I started to say it like, you already broke my phone. There's blood on the wall. You busted my lip. You can't keep me locked up in this room. And I started to say the things out loud in not like a screaming, crazy way, but actually in a way that someone could coherently hear me, you know? And there was someone out there. There was someone out there that heard me. There was someone out there who called the police for me. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have anything except for that voice that said, use your voice. And someone called the police. And then there was a knock on the door saying there was a police. I was like, praise God, you know? And that is the whole thing of having the presence of God there. And so I know that even like you said, that with you and that your wife gave that to you and the presence of God that your daughter is now reading, and you can't deny the presence of God in all of our journeys. But even though we walk away sometimes, He's never far away. So in that moment, I know, and I know that He's never far away from any of us at any time. but that was a very, very clear and audible time that he showed up. That's the only way I can say is that he showed up so clearly. But today, how do you stay aware of your thoughts and energy to continue creating your life and faith and intention? Like I know you're doing so much and you're like being interviewed on different things, TV and all of that.
If I understand the question, sorry.
Oh, let me do it again. Let me do it again clearer. Because I know sometimes I get so excited. That is just me. I get so excited. I say things so fast. But how do you stay aware of your thoughts and energy to continue creating your life and with faith and intention? With faith and intention. Because, yeah, you're doing so much already. There's so much.
I spend the time sitting with reflection, as we talked about before, of what's already happened, what has been capable by that collaboration, by to do the things that I've talked about. I haven't for some weeks because I've had a flu and those sort of things that life that normally goes on. Daily walking in the morning, in the evenings, listening, reciting those mantras, listening to those books, incorporating those things into your daily life, keeping that intention going, that I have that message that I need to share, and the awareness that I need to share it further so that it helps more people. Having that faith by talking to people like yourself and those that I've been working with, those that I've spoken to that come to me and say, I've done this, this, and this because you said this maybe months ago, but this has changed in my life. All those resources give you the faith and help you focus on that intention of spreading it further, of refining my message so that it's coherent to more people by just being present in those moments for all those people in your life, seeing the impact that that just builds that faith and knowing that it's all on a journey for a reason and just keeping on moving forward. Yes, you may have to stop and have that rest. It may not be going at the speeds that you want it to go, but it's still happening one step at a time.
That is so good. Like you just said, it may not be going at the speed that you wanted to, or even for any one of us, but it is all in God's timing, and His ways are higher than our ways, and we just don't know. But as I've just witnessed it, or I just said it here, God timely, right? I didn't know that the result of my MRI was going to be on Saturday. And that was a week ago. And now you're here telling me all of this. And who would have known that I knew what the topic was going to be, right? But I didn't know how the conversation was going to be. And it's just so like perfect because God knew it before we knew it. And that's one thing that we need to understand is that we may not know everything. And we're human. We're human beings. We may not know everything, but God does. And when we trust Him and when we have faith in Him and when we do the things that we allow our minds and we do what you said and what is important right now, and we focus that all in. And now what I'm seeing is that funnel of what is important. I'm like, this is where we're needing to be right now. So good. So good. And that's so important. Oh my gosh. For you to say everything you did. I am like, sorry everyone. This was just for me. I'm kidding. I kid. But thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for being here. So incredible. Your testimony was incredible. So amazing. The faith, courage, and healing, your story. It just reminds us that when we shift our energy, when we change results, and that believing is truly seeing. And I love that, how you saw yourself as the blood cells healing, hearing what the doctor's saying and being like, no, like when the doctor says that's poison, you're like, no, that's healing. Things like that, just shifting even the words that you hear. That is just so important. So like when the doctor's saying, the radiologist says, oh yeah, there's atrophy. No, no, no. There's healing in there, And I know that I can do that because now I hear that you have proven that so many times. So good. So to everyone listening, oh my gosh, may this episode encourage you to take back your power. Speak life into your situation as I am speaking life into mine, into my leg, to trust that God is working all things together for good, even when the path isn't so clear. And remember, my gosh, I feel like I'm going to cry, but thank you, David. Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here, for sharing, and for being raw and real with us. So everyone, affirm your faith, lead with love, and overcome with courage, heal with grace, and be real, because that's the only way we can. The healing comes because we're real with each other and that we can come together as one. So walk in acute awareness of God's presence in every moment. And until next time, I'm Michelle A G Ebalaroza-Kawano, and thank you for joining us here on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. And thank you, David, for everything. Aloha, everyone, and until next time, ahui ho.
Thank you for joining us here on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. Before leaving, please hit that subscribe button. God's blessings always and ahui ho.